What's up guys, and welcome back to the Nurse Nook. My name is Alexis Nicole and I make videos all about nursing, lifestyle, and wellness. In today's video, I'm gonna do a quick get ready with me while we chit chat about a really important topic. Okay, so let's jump straight into it. I don't have a tabletop mirror, shame on me. So I'm just gonna be using my iPad so I can see myself get ready in. So we're gonna go in with some primer. This is literally just like the e.l.f. primer. I am in between finding a good primer, and this is like the first thing I saw at Ulta and it had good reviews. I'm like, you know what, whatever. I'm not about to spend $50 on a decent primer right now. I need to do some research and then we will get back to it. Also, I just want to say I am at the time of the month where I start breaking out, and I just want to normalize period acne and acne in general, okay? Because I have tried absolutely everything and my diet has gotten so much better, but I still have breakthrough acne during certain hormonal cycles, and you know what? That is okay. So if you suffer with that or experience that, give yourself a break and just know that it is very normal. Anyways, so let's get into the chat. Nurses eating their young. So first I want to basically explain what that means. In short, nurses eating their young is basically just another term for nurse bullying. So historically, there have been tons and tons of reports of, most specifically like new grads and new nurses that get bullied by their peers, usually peers that are a lot more experienced or older. They've experienced bullying from their peers when starting on a new unit. And this has been termed nurses eating their young because it was something that was so common and experienced by so many people. I just want to say that absolutely no nurse bullying is tolerated here whatsoever. Thankfully, I have not seen it a ton in my practice. I mean, I've heard of people, nurses complaining about it. Most specifically, new grad nurses, I feel like are the ones that experience nurse bullying the most. But thankfully, I have not seen it a ton. I've just heard stories. Have I experienced nurse bullying? Yes, I have, but again, thankfully, not that much. I don't even know if you would describe it as bullying, but I have had people be unkind to me, but I don't know that it's specific to being a new nurse or a new grad nurse. Sadly, the majority of bullying I have experienced surrounds what I do on YouTube, so it's been things related to that. I've had people that are higher than me in the hospital setting say a lot of negative things about me because of what I do here on YouTube and social media. And that was really unpleasant. Thankfully, at my current job, this is probably my most favorite place that I've worked. I feel like everyone has been so kind, but I have worked at 5 different facilities across my nursing lifespan, and so I have had tons and tons of different experiences. But yeah, sadly, I have experienced people being unkind, specifically surrounding my social media. Again, I just know that 9 times out of 10, the things people say about you are not necessarily true about you, but a reflection of how they feel about themselves. So I was grateful that I learned that at a very young age. And so a lot of this stuff I didn't take to heart. But it is discouraging, things get to you after a while and there's only so much that you could ignore. But yeah, sadly, I've had to experience things like that. But I want to talk more about the nurse bullying that new grads tend to experience. Again, I wasn't a nurse 10, 15 years ago, so I don't know what it's like. But I think the current climate of nursing, I feel, again, don't attack me. If you've had a different experience, that's totally valid. But I think the nurses eating their young and then nursing bullying culture has improved. I don't think it has been completely eradicated by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think just the way culture has been shifting, I think people are so much more mindful of their words and treating others, and not just to be a-holes, for lack of a better term. I think as a society, we have grown a lot more mindful. But with that being said, I do think there are still instances where people are experiencing unfairness at work. And so things that could be described as nurse bullying on the unit can be talking about new grad nurses and their abilities behind their back and saying, oh, this nurse doesn't know what she's doing, or giving the new nurse a more difficult assignment to haze them, things like that. From what I have experienced, again, my own personal experience, the most common form of nurse bullying I have ran into is people speaking badly about others and speaking negatively about others and their abilities. And honestly, I want to take this moment to take a little self-analysis. People may not even think twice about it. Just sit for a moment and think if you have ever talked about another nurse, the way she cared for her patients, spoke badly about them, gossiped on the unit about a new grad, a new nurse, a nurse that's been there for forever, or said things negative about another nurse on your unit. You're part of the problem. We do not tolerate mean girls here. That is not okay. And one thing that I always remind people of, especially if I come across a nurse that's been a nurse for quite a few years, and you know, sometimes it's easy to catch yourself saying something negative. I always like to remind people that you were once a new nurse and you were once in this person's shoes. So what makes you think that now, because you have surpassed that newness, that you just are automatically allowed to speak poorly of other people or judge other people for not knowing certain things? I really just cannot stand that, because I feel like when you don't foster a healthy learning environment, so when you speak badly or make someone feel dumb for asking questions, that now creates an environment where this nurse does not feel comfortable asking for help and may do something to unintentionally harm a patient because they don't know the proper policy or procedure or whatever it is, because they are so terrified to look stupid and ask for help. And I absolutely cannot stand that. And I feel like I've become even more passionate about this since I've started orienting. I recently started orienting this year. I know I've been a nurse for forever, and I've only now started taking on new grads and orientees. And that's really because I've been changing fields so much that this is the first time I've been somewhere long enough to learn enough to teach other people. But since taking on new grad nurses and orientees, I have grown a deeper passion for fostering a healthy learning environment for people. I've always known how it feels to start off new and not really know what I'm doing, but I honestly feel like orienting is similar to being a mother. Like, you're taking on this little duckling and you're fostering them and growing them and helping teach them to become a grown-up. Not really grown-up, because honestly some of my orientees have been older than me, but you're teaching them how to grow up in your unit and how to survive in your unit. You become almost protective of them and you want them to have a really good experience and excel. So when you see people making them feel bad, or you know, they don't feel comfortable to ask certain people questions because they're scared of looking silly, like, oh my gosh, I really just cannot stand that. So I always say, I know that it's scary and sometimes really intimidating, but if someone is treating you unfairly, please speak up. Say it in the moment. I am a big advocate of, I think sometimes you need to put on your big girl panties and address the situation head on. I don't 100% agree with running straight to management if a situation is making you uncomfortable. I think you should give that person an opportunity to correct their behavior, because honestly sometimes people just have an aggressive way of speaking. They don't even notice that they may be being unhelpful or whatever it is. So I always say, address the problem ASAP. I think people will also grow a lot more respect for you if you are able to address the situation in front of someone's face and to their face, versus kind of like running, not saying anything to them. They may not even know that a problem exists, and then running straight to management. Oh my God, I just realized I didn't have my ring on. I just got out the shower. I'm not disengaged, y'all. I just didn't put her back on. I just personally find it a lot more respectful if someone has the courage to say something to me, to my face, and saying, hey, you know, you said this to me earlier, and that kind of, you know, it made me feel a little bad. So I would just like to address it. Personally, I feel like people would respond a lot better if it's something coming from you versus something coming from upper management. Because it's like, wow, this person had the opportunity to talk to me and they didn't say anything, and they kind of just like ran and told on me. Granted, they are wrong for being negative in the first place, like shame on them. But this is honestly something that you can use, not even just in nursing, but in everyday life. I think addressing things head on and instead of running to other people and talking behind their back is always just gonna be a lot healthier for everybody. But one thing that I always say, sometimes people get scared from nursing because they hear all these horror stories about nurses eating their young and people being mean to new grads. And I have to be honest and say that sadly, I think you're gonna experience cattiness in any field and career you go into. I think that's just the nature of life. I don't think nursing specifically is just like, oh, like the girls are catty in nursing, like don't be a nurse because people are mean. I have worked in retail, I've worked in the restaurant industry. Everyone is just as catty and messy in every other field. It is not specific to nursing. So if you are being turned off from nursing for that reason because you're scared of people talking or whatever it is, just know that, sweetheart, that is probably gonna follow you anywhere. It's not the career, it's the people. Yes, nursing can be a little catty and very high school-like, but guess what? So can absolutely everything else. So please, please, please don't let that deter you from following your passions. You know, you do the best that you can do. And if for any reason you do run into any kind of like bullying and mistreatment, you know, we can work through it when it gets there. Send me a message. We can talk through it together. Yeah, like I said, I feel like the epidemic of nurse bullying is getting a bit better from my experience, but I'm not saying it doesn't exist, and I'm not negating anyone's experience, because I'm telling you firsthand that if I've had these experiences every so often, and you know, when I was a new grad, an older nurse like literally made me cry before. And it was very unprovoked and very unnecessary. So I get it. And like I said, that's one of my favorite things about my job now is I feel like, you know, it fostered a really healthy learning environment for me. And that's why I have been here the longest that I have, because it's just, I don't know, I really enjoy it. I enjoy coming to work and being able to do my job and not have to deal with the extraness. That was literally the quickest little makeup ever. Yeah, that was just my little like chit chat rant. I love doing these more casual sit down videos with you guys because it makes me feel like I'm just like chatting to a homegirl, and I can be like really raw and honest with you guys. Like we're just having a little conversation over lunch. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in next week's video.